More Zerg game. We didn't really get any solid Zerg games beforehand either. So this is Europe at the moment. No timer clock. My modem exploded a little bit earlier. I had to reset, so I didn't bother. So, Zerg versus Terran. Overlord placement is your basic. Where you're putting your overlords, why you're putting your overlords there is the most important thing. It's one of those things that you can do the same time every game. Your first overlord, I like to send it out towards their base, see if they get an expo. On some maps, like on this map, you can kind of send it past the second base. On maps like Frozen Temple, I usually just send it to the main. The timing you're scouting in against Terran and against Protoss, you don't usually send your OV into scout against Zerg. Usually, they already have revealed their tech, or you get Zerglings in or something, because Zerg players don't build hard walls like Protoss and Terran do. But the timing is usually between 3 and 4 minutes. Now, I know there's always some very vocal people saying, why are you playing in Platinum when you're Grandmaster? Today, the focus from the start, and the focus, some of my most popular stuff as content, is not Grandmaster games, but instead guides, tutorials, answering questions. I know everybody in Twitch chat is Grandmaster, but in your spare time, is anyone here, if you are either unranked and want to learn how to play, or haven't hit that ranked button yet, or if you're bronze, silver, or gold, can I get a Kappa Ross in the chat? If there's anyone here at that level trying to pick up at least something. I know everybody's Grandmaster, but if you had to be one of those other leagues, what would it be? Just a Kappa Ross in the chat will tell me. Alright, so a few people. Hello, Reaper. I wasn't paying attention. But, right as the pool is finishing, you want these initial lings to handle the Reaper. Because the Queen actually doesn't come out in time. Almost got it, but I think he's going to make it out. But immediately after these queens, I'm making additional queens. I'm going to extract a trick out here real quick. He also doesn't have an expo. I saw the SCV going out to this left-hand side. I get a feeling that he's taken another base out on the map. I'm going to go ahead and send this OV in. What do we got over here? Huh. So why was the SCV there? He's got an expo on the way. I'm still making queens. Queens are your basis of the early defense, just in general. Don't want to lose this OV if you don't have to. And I can get a third base pretty soon. His Reaper's still chilling up here. So that means I can go get my third. He still hasn't landed this. We can take a look on the high ground as well. There's no point in trying to kill any of those Marines. You're not going to be able to pick them off. So, going to go get my third base kicked off. So I'm going to go into probably the safest style, which, yeah, it's not difficult to micro. It's not anything like that. But I'm going to go with Mass Roach Ravager. I see he's probably going to do a Widow Mine drop right now. I think it's very likely. So I'm just going to get Spore Crawlers on the edge of my bases. But yeah, seeing that Widow Mine, as well as the Starport timing, means pretty likely to be a Widow Mine drop. He doesn't have enough production. He doesn't have enough racks. He can't put out enough units to really threaten me. So I'm just going to get up to about 60 drones. And then we're going to work our way. Well, if he's going for a third base, there are two options here. One, he's just trying to harass, and he puts on a bit of pressure, and then he tries to macro it out, in which case I probably won't try to kill him. But if he's focused on 2 base, I just want to get enough drones to be able to produce off of these bases. And, oh, the Reaper's in here. But he won't see anything because I made my lair at the 2nd base. This is actually the one map I don't usually do that. I just happened to do it this time around. But I usually make my lair at the natural because your natural is not going to mine out as quick, which means your units are going to be more valuable because your 2nd base doesn't mine out as quick as your 1st, and it's usually closer to where you put your army, right? Your army is usually at least at the bottom of your ramp, if not out on the map. So if he does a drop or an attack, you want your lair to be defended. And sometimes, like, 3 medevacs come into your main base, your army's halfway across the map. While you might have been able to defend your 2nd base, you're not going to defend your main. It just takes too long. So I'm going to get another 10 drones or so. Ooh, I like this. Going for the double prong over on this side. Of course, it's getting a bit too cute almost here. Is he going to try the main? Because he still has that medevac. I see it, and I've been seeing it for a while, yeah. Whoop. Get out of there. You gotta be a little bit... Whoop. Yeah, he's harassing with this, but there's no reason to overdo it when it comes to freaking out. Okay, here comes this attack. He's got 2 Widow Mines in here. You want to see some fancy micro? Oh. He just boosted in, so that means he might not be able to quite boost out. One more hit. Nope. This Widow Mine's going to get very awkwardly personal with my queens. And I have a lot of resources, right? But I've been injecting pretty well, and I can spend a bunch of them on roaches. Not enough. I got some money left over. All right, let's get an infestation pit. Let's get another base. Let's get another Evo chamber and some upgrades. Why not? Throw them all on there. OV speed. Why not? Let's throw it in there. Burrow? Why not? There you go. Spend your money. Micro your macro. That's the most important part. I'm going to transfer down towards my 3rd now. Get a few more drones. You know what I never got? Roach speed. That's a very important one. That's going to reduce the effectiveness of my units. Not having that roach speed. I can't really attack until roach speed. The roaches are just too shitty until they do a little bit of cardio. So they're good for defense because usually in defense you're defending drops, not direct attacks. But if you actually want to move out on the map with those, why not go for a hive? Throw the hive on there. And I'm going to sit back, and now we'll just take a look around. I got this OV speed. Does he have a 3rd base? He's it's hanging out over here. I'm getting all the vision I need. I know he's probably going to have some... Yeah, the hive on the way is an important one. Everybody knows how ridiculously imbalanced Ultralists are when you don't prepare for them because you've been too busy trying to micro a single medevac as opposed to actually macroing. So we're going to exploit that. We're going to get there. We're going to get to the Ultralisks. Of course, I'm going to start with the Roach Ravager, and sometimes you can just win with that. But I have a follow-up. I have a transition in mind for this. All right. We're going to transfer some of these SCVs over. Get the pathogen glands as well. And I'm still making roaches. I'm going to make the Ultros Cavern as soon as this comes out. There's no reason I have to kill him with Roach Ravager. Roach Ravager is a pretty mediocre unit composition, especially without infestors or anything like that. So there's no reason I have to outright kill him. It's very good defensively, especially when you have creep and other things like that to work with. I'm going to spread out some of these overlords just to make sure I always see any sort of silly drops coming in. Get the creep over here. He sees this base. We've got that Ultra Cavern on the way. I'm actually going to upgrade some of that melee attack. And it looks like he's pulling the trigger on his attack here. I've got a couple infestors on the way. And this is a pretty strong looking attack, which is why the infestors are so important. They don't have pathogen glands. That's a mistake. but I just keep making roaches here. I'm going to get the chitinous plating on the Ultralisk Cavern that's about to finish. He actually has several Liberators as well, so... I'm going to expand to this base and to this base while I'm waiting for this. Once I get... And remember, you can shoot them even if you don't have detection. I'm going to save my other fungal here for when I have another recharge. Ooh. Guess who doesn't have detection at all? This was pretty poor by me, but it wasn't poor enough. We can still knock down most of those Liberators. There's so many Widowmines. That wasn't a bad attack by him. But even though I handled it really poorly, I still had more than enough units. I hit a few corrosive biles in there. But I've already double expanded while waiting to lose that base, just in case. I took a hit, but he lost his entire army for it. And I need to have the Spire because, now like I mentioned, the best way to deal with Ultras is to be going Liberators. He actually took the advice I was doling out earlier for Terran players. Like, how do you deal with Ultras? You don't just deal with Ultras when you scout them. You already have the Liberators. You already have the tech you need to at least start to deflect them early on. And he did. I will re-expand over here. If I have 1,500 minerals, it's burning a hole in my pocket. I can throw some of these guys over. Maybe get a few more drones. Get a couple infestors. He's got a drop over here. And he's got a drop over here. But eventually I'm going to have the Ultras. And now this is where you can't use the Selecto Army Hotkey. This is how you lose when you're using the Selecto Army Hotkey. Right now. Like, I'm just going to move a few units off on either side. I could attack. I could probably attack right now. But this is just how to defend in this scenario. He's doing a good job. He's setting up his units on different sides. Gonna get my attack upgrades as well. Oh, it's a Liberator. Okay. Gonna get 3 Ravagers over here. I've got a Spire now. And the late game is when you get Corruptors and Ultras, and you can knock everything down. Also, I can go for the, what's the word for it? The Greater Spire. That's the one. I'm using the Selecto Army Hotkey, but only to, okay, shooting this is actually very difficult, because it's in, like, a weird area. I can't even see the indicator. God damn it! Every once in a while you get one of these areas. How do I shoot this? This is like that goddamn... Okay, there you go. But now I'm building up a bank and he doesn't have a 4th base. This is the safest way to play. There's no risk here. That was a one-way trip. So now I have all the bases on my side. I'm building up a nice gas bank. And honestly, this is the point at which it's about time to attack. I don't want to wait for him to get a bit of a better army composition. I'm going to send some roaches off to this side, work on these rocks. Make sure I'm injecting everything. I'm getting adrenal glands for the Zerglings I don't own yet, but... And I'm just waiting to remix. I've got 40 larvae, but I don't want to just throw it all away into Zerglings or roaches if I lose a fight. So... let's go. Oh, here we go. You guys want to see Zerg porn? This is Zerg porn, by the way. The fungal combination is quite good. When combined with the corrosive bile, yes, killing those changelings is a high priority. Stop this. Stop doing this. GG.
Replay saved.
That's why it's so important to get your tech out in a timely manner. I let my fungal wash all over him. But yeah, which is also why you have to know, as a Terran, you got to know where the army is before moving out. Otherwise, things like that can happen. One more Zerg game. All right, ZVZ. So ZVZ is the most, on the surface, it seems like a coin flip bullshit matchup, and that is only very partly true. Below the higher levels, you can easily, I mean, in GM I have an 80% win rate in ZVZ, using these simple tricks. Don't be a fuck. Well, also, I try to use builds that are very middle of the road, because I'm not playing at this point, or even when playing GM. I'm not playing perfect players. I'm not playing Snoot. I'm not playing Nurchio. I'm not playing Dark. So if you just do a very middle-of-the-road build and let people make mistakes, usually you will win. Okay. He's got a pretty early scout. Setting up my camera locations between the bases so I can give you guys epilepsy. That's not how epilepsy works, but whatever. SPM is screens per minute. That's how much you significantly move your camera. Like, if I move my camera from here to here, that's not a screen. But if I move my camera like this, that counts as a screen. It gives you an indication of how much someone moves around the map and is looking at different things or doing different actions. Got my speed on the way. And he's got drones. Might as well go for him here. He could fight, but I will target down individual drones. I think I'll be able to get one more. Now, what I didn't get was a scout of whether he's going for Zergling speed, but getting 3 drones that early is a big deal. So, getting my Bane Nest, I'm going to get some additional Zerglings out. And it looks like some players will do this. Like, they'll start getting attacked by Zerglings. It's a pretty common response. It's just like, I need to make Zerglings. And then, you know you've done it, Zerg players. You suddenly have, like, 16 Zerglings that you didn't really want. And we're seeing a little bit of that today. Now I'm actually just going to make Zerglings. He's probably going to go down the road of having a decent chunk of Zerglings. I need to make Banelings right off the bat. And he actually has speed quicker than me here, so... I have a okay amount of drones, not great. Not great, unfortunately. Transfer some of these down. And this is just going to be a Ling Bane attack. I'm going to get a few drones behind this, though, because I think he's going to be caught off guard by this. Yeah, we're going to see what he has back at home. I'm going to split off some Zerglings to target down drones. You don't want to fight this many Zerglings. That's not, I mean, I just randomly made a bunch of, but my objective, in that attack was not to kill him. It's to force his hand. Like, I go up, and maybe if he's been very greedy, I get some damage done. But it's not to kill him. I got somewhat lucky to kill him. But, I'm trying to get more drones back at home, and I'm trying to open up an opportunity for my third base. Making that big round of Zerglings, one, if he's being too greedy, you can do a lot of damage, like I just did. Two, if he's making a lot of Zerglings, you have the Zerglings ready for defense. And if you're taking the initiative, that gives you an opportunity to make drones behind.
That's a bad kitty.
Replay
Welcome
saved.
to the Monstercat podcast. A place where strangers become friends and friends become family. Taking you on a journey. This is Monstercat.
All right, I'll take Zerg questions. At Winter Gaming to highlight your question. If you ask a question, I'm going to assume you're talking about the Zerg perspective as well. So answer Zerg questions for a couple minutes and then play some Pro Toss. You go pool first? I usually go pool first. I usually actually do. When I'm playing at the higher level, I go with pool first gasless. And then usually go for roaches just because it blocks all the early shenanigans that everybody wants to do. I'll go hedge first sometimes, but I usually like the pull first so I don't die to random shit. How much supply do Marines tank? I hate you. How to counter a 12 pool? If you went hatch first, you have to buy time. If you didn't go hatch first, you don't want to fight until your queen and Zerglings are out. If you have to wait, you want to just run and try to shore up your defenses until you can get a queen out and you're making Zerglings. You don't want to fight with your drones early against a 12 pool. You want to wait till you have something other than just drones. If you want hatch first, you buy as much time as possible, but you might have to just pull the drones and attack. If you want to see my graphics, you can use the graphics command. How to deal with barracks rush and the medevac push? Usually Zergling early on, just heavy Zergling early on. And then eventually adding on queens as well. That's what you want. Like 5, 6, 7 queens so you can target down the medevacs and have the Ling Bane underneath. But queens, just any harass from Terran early on, my answer is going to be build more queens. So, how do you deal with full Sky Toss, Tempest Carrier, plus a few Archons on the ground? Usually your best bet is to go Corruptor Broodlord with Vipers. And either you can pull out the Tempest and Carriers, or you could try to use Parasitic Bomb, but really Queen Corruptor Broodlord is your most reliable counter, and you want to try to catch them out of position so the Archons can't hit your Corruptors. What do you recommend for a new player at SC2 with Zerg build times? You can just use the Zerg command, and you can check out my tutorials there for like the very basic stuff. Is Zerg the hardest race? There is no hardest race. How do you kill Adepts? It depends. If it's just early Adepts, Speedlings, but eventually you need either Roaches or Banelings. Banelings are probably more effective because you can counter with them, but Roaches are more reliable because they don't outright die to well-split Adepts. What's a safe all-around opener against Protoss? A hatch first, as long as you make sure you're not getting cannon rushed. And then gas pool after that to get Zergling speed out early on. And maybe you go for a third base while getting +1 melee attack. In what real situation are lurkers viable? In ZVP is when they're most used. ZVP, when you're up against a really heavy, especially like Adept Stalker heavy army, they're great against that. They wreck Stalkers. And they're used to zone out, like, in a Mortal Archon composition. They're not going to counter it on their own, like, you need a lot of Zerglings and Banelings, but they're your normal mid-game before Hive Tech against Protoss. Are Hydralisk OP? No. Counters to Lurker and ZVZ other than Broodlord? Roach Ravager. Because the Ravagers, they don't even need detection. You just use the mobility of the Roach Ravager to move the Lurkers around, and if they're burrowed, you can try to snipe them with Corrosive Bile, or, like, as they're burrowing, you snipe them and then you pull back. Or you can catch them unburrowed because you're able to move around because they have to be burrowed to attack. How do you shoot with Ravager? If I'll try with Shift, they always want to move then shoot. Should I press E then shoot with Shift? E. I'm not sure. Well, the hotkey, I guess. I usually just C-click a bunch in order to shoot the Ravager shots. Also, you have to make sure you're in range. If you're not in range, then Ravager shots aren't going to go off. How reliable are Broodlords? I mean, if you get to Broodlords, they're very reliable. It's just the act of getting to Broodlords is usually the hardest part. Why don't pro gamers use burrowed banelings more often? Because even pro gamers don't really have that much multitasking and APM. It's usually just not worth it. I mean, you might get a nice hit, but for every time you get a nice hit, usually at that level, it's going to be more of a distraction to you than a problem for them. Alright.